Finally got the motor back from the Trans Am. We are going to unload this and wrap it up, or unwrap it, get it on the engine stand, and just go over everything. Get the block painted, get it ready for its new home in the Trans Am. So at the end of this video, after I'm done painting it, getting it all ready and just putting stuff back on, I'm going to go over exactly dollar for dollar, part for part, what I spent, which I don't want to know, but I have a pretty good idea of where I'm at. But for everyone who thinks that you can do another really cheap swap, you can, but when you do just very basic things in terms of going for longevity, it doesn't become cheap anymore. So I'm going to show exactly where the costs come up from and what I paid myself, and we get this in the hole. So stick with me, let's get this all unraveled, get it painted looking good. So before we get into today's video, as you can see, the car is behind me here. Unfortunately, I lost about 3 or 4 days worth of footage, so we're just going to jump right into it and continue on. We're at Valve Shop. So everything off the top. So far, I don't see any major culprit for it being slightly hurt, which is probably why I think it's going to be the piston rings, and probably needs some new bearings. Cam lobes look really good up top. They're barely even scored from just like normal wear. Nothing in the rockers. Springs look good, so I don't think it's a valve train issue. There was metal in the oil on the metal or magnetic drain plug, but didn't pour oil out the back. It would consume a lot of oil, which we did see a lot of that in the intake and in the intake ports on the heads, especially on the back cylinders. So I know oil's gone through the system, so I gotta really clean that out before we fire this back or fire the new motor up. New motor is on a stand. We got all these parts we got to transfer over, but just to kind of run down on this 6-liter. So we have 317 heads reworked, angle jobs done, new exhaust valves, lighter valves as well, milled 30 thou on the heads. Block is bored 30 over. We have a stage 3 turbo cam from Texas Speed on here with the upgraded cam core like I usually do. We have Johnson drop-in 210R lifters, your standard stuff like the melting oil pump, standard timing chain, nothing crazy there. Summit Racing pistons and rods, LS forged pistons and rods on this with a minus 12 cc piston, so that's why I milled the heads, kind of bring that back up because it would be a little too low for boost for my liking. I think it would have been about 9.1 or 9.0 on compression, so we should probably be around, I want to say around 9.6, 9.8, so it should be fairly responsive, not go crazy on boost. Rings are gapped at 30 top and bottom, or first and second ring, however you want to say it, so it should do nicely. For now, we're going to run the stock LS6 intake on top. I'm going to get upgraded, or I already have upgraded fuel rails. I'm going to get a new FIC injectors, or 1100cc injectors, and when I do that, I will do a new fuel rail system at the same time. For now, we'll break it in on the current setup with the Siemens Decas 80s that I have, so that'll be plenty fine to kind of break this in, do some tuning, make sure everything's kind of happy before we start chasing power and making some power pulls. Okay, we are on to day 3. So I haven't fully torn down the old motor yet, just kind of robbing the parts I need off of it first and transferring them all onto the new one. And new motor, cranks on, everything's nicely painted, black and gold. We're going with that theme right now. I already have the red sparkle bars from TSP, so whatever. Would have went black, but whatever. I'm gonna insulate some more stuff on the firewall side as well. I need to get some screws so I can just kind of self-tap those in. And we're going to cover up the wiring. So I got some heat shield wrap for the wires for everything that's down here to protect those things, because it was getting pretty charred. So don't want that to become a problem. All right, we're going for the first fire. Without an actual fire. Alright guys, so I just went through all my receipts. I'm going to show you dollar for dollar what it cost me Canadian, regardless of whatever discounts that I had or vendor costs I got on my build. This is what it cost me, pretty much to the penny. I kind of rounded up on a couple of things, but even just to kind of show you exactly what it costs to do a build such as this, as much as people say it's budget, it's not. So here's going to be the breakdown. So got everything written down here, right from summit down to bolts, as much as I could detailed in terms of the full build. And we have all my parts list, so pistons and rods, the wrist pins, piston rings, main bearings, cam bearings, water pump and thermostat, the trunnion upgrade, the upgraded stage 3 turbo cam, dual valve springs, push rods, lifters, head gaskets, oil pump, cam plate with bolts, ARP crank bolt. I upgraded to Texas Speed plug wires, plugs themselves, intake gaskets, new cam sensor, crank sensor, coolant temp sensor, front timing cover, rear main cover seal, lifter trays, new F-body oil pan and gasket, new knock sensors, new valley cover gasket. Got a Motion Rake Source catch can, ARP head bolts, FIC 1000cc injectors, new fuel oil kit, miscellaneous bolts. I don't know exactly what I got finishing up with that, so that's still uncalculated. A Sac City Corvette barbell kit as well. Brings my total parts only cost at $78.32 and 67 cents Canadian for you lovely people in the US. Then machine work. So they hot tanked, machined, balanced, had to get new exhaust valves because the exhaust valves were pretty torched, so refinished the heads as well. So in that also is, I actually just remembered, is what I spent for the valves, with another $1,000 on top. So my total for parts, or sorry, machine work, aside from the valves, was $4,070.03 Canadian. That brings my total to $11,902 and 70 cents plus my $1,000, unfortunately, but $980, so we'll call it $1,000 for the valves, which I just remembered that I didn't have calculated on here as well. So that's going to bring me to $12,902 and 70 cents for a full build that should be capable of holding 8,000 horsepower long term. Let's keep that in mind, or more should I decide to change to an LS3 top end. So right now I'm just sticking with the
317 heads, more for a street application, kind of limit myself on power. Yes, I know that sounds stupid, but when I go to a T6, that's when I want to do a complete top-end build. So keep that in mind, and I can use all of this that I have currently on another project. So that's my mindset with that. Now, that is just the motor itself. This isn't including labor for putting said motor into the car. That I'm going to do as much as I can myself, and with a buddy of mine as well, which won't have a dollar figure onto it as well. So if you're thinking of, it's cheap to build an LS, yeah, it is. If you just want to pull it out from junkyard, just stick a cam kit in there, very basic, cobble up a turbo kit, and away you go. You'll make 500-600 horse, no problem. Problem is longevity. It won't last. And anyone who says that you can, keep yourself out of trouble with boost, you never do. You turn it up, you blow it up. So keep that in mind. I'm still in shock over what this is total out to be in a short period of time. I started collecting parts, I want to say in late December, early January, and then really kind of forked out from there in a short period of time. And the machine work, unfortunately, took quite a bit of time. Not only did I have, so I went through a couple back and forth with Summit in terms of parts breaking or things being wrong, and having to change part of the build halfway through. But I had a set of head studs, and they snapped while doing the installation, so I had to go to head bolts. So that changed things as well. Kind of saved me a couple bucks, literally a couple bucks, in terms of going to head bolts. But still, ARP, you're still a couple $100. So it did delay things, which kind of worked out in my favor. The car isn't ready to go into the shop. It is jammed, as you see. So it did help me kind of alleviate having to spend out right away. But now it's go time, right? Summer is pretty much here, spring is here, and I do want to get it on the road as soon as possible. I want to start testing it and fine-tuning my tune. It's been a while since I've had it on the dyno per se, to kind of rework some of the magic with that. I'd like having to take a look at that as well. And it's when tuners have been doing it for so long and the car hasn't been at a tuner for so long, the things you learn that you can apply on an older tune can really make the car feel completely different. So I'm curious to see how he wants to kind of go back and look at what we've done and see how we can make it better. So really excited to do that and get on the dyno, see what it makes. I'm not going for like huge power here. I'm just trying to replicate what I have, keep it safe, and then next year, depending on how things go, will be a LS3 top end, and then I want to see if I can hit the 1,000 mark, and everything else behind it will also have to change to accommodate that, but one step at a time. So if you liked this video, please like, share, subscribe. I will see you guys when this thing gets put into the car. See ya.